Hello Gemini, my name is Keith Haswell and I'm a professional astrologer with 40 years experience, over 30,000 clients worldwide, and I've got over 160 YouTube videos up there now on all aspects of personal and spiritual growth. So enough said about me, that's not the important thing. The important thing is you, Gemini, and you are to be congratulated, Gemini, for finding your way to this particular video, because you're ready now to make a gigantic step forward in the evolution of your consciousness. What I'm going to do for you, Gemini, on this particular video is I'm going to tell you the movements of the planets through the houses of your horoscope during July and August 2015, and as they move through the houses of your horoscope, they activate certain events and conditions in your life, and those conditions and events represent tests through Mars and Saturn, and obstacles and hurdles for you to overcome. Now you might think, well, I don't want the obstacles and the hurdles, I don't want to know anything about them, but they are the hurdles that when you jump, you get over those hurdles and they bring about changes within yourself, powers, strengths and talents. So you've set it up this way yourself, Gemini, so that you can take a gigantic step forward every month by jumping these hurdles that you put up in front of yourself. And then I'm going to look at the movements of the Sun, Venus and Jupiter as they bring joy and happiness and excitement into your life. So I'll put it on a timeline for you on a week-by-week basis to give you an idea of what's coming up for you in July and August 2015. You know, you are to be congratulated, Gemini, for finding your way to this particular video, because you're interested in astrology. And astrology is the most scientific presentation of hidden truth in the world today. Science poo-poos astrology, and they say that astrology doesn't work. So if you can prove to yourself that astrology does work by having your personal horoscope done by me, or what's called horoscope number 3, I'm able to tell you on a recorded message all about yourself, your personality traits that only you know about yourself, and I'm able to tell you about your past, when you had changes in your job, changes in your residence, bouts of sickness, journeys overseas, accidents, death in the family, when you had children, even where you got scars on your body, and that has a big impact upon you, Gemini. It has a big impact upon you because it proves that astrology is valid. Now, what's the importance of proving that astrology is valid? Well, if you can prove to yourself that astrology is valid, it means that the planets are not just blobs of matter, as science says, Gemini, that they are actually beings of consciousness, and they are placed there by design. And that design is of a spiritual nature. It's organized and planned from higher consciousness. That's the important thing. You see, science has already proven the tenets of astrology to be truth through quantum physics. They have proven without any reasonable doubt at all through quantum physics that the most important factor in the universe is consciousness. They like to pretend that the brain is the thing that develops consciousness and brings about consciousness, but actually they've proven through quantum physics that it's the other way around, that it's consciousness that creates the brain, and that physical reality is a holographic illusion. Look, there's just so much there to learn, and this is what I want to help you to understand, Gemini, is that you are primarily a spiritual being. You are not a physical being, a human being in physical incarnation with a spiritual nature. You are a spiritual being creating your physical reality as you go along. So you are primarily a spiritual being, and as a spiritual being you are set yourself up with all these tests in life in order to be able to draw forth your qualities, strengths, powers and talents and so forth. But let's leave that until a little bit later, and I'll just get into your cycles for you now and tell you a few things about what's going on. What I'm going to do for you, Gemini, is to put it on a timeline for you, okay? So I'll start off on the 1st of July where Mars is, and then I'll tell you when it moves from that particular house of your horoscope into a different house and what type of events that brings about. And then I'm going to look at Saturn for you and tell you what Saturn is doing during this 2-month period. And then I'm going to look at the movements of the Sun, Venus and Jupiter for you to tell you what sort of events and conditions are going to be precipitating into your reality during this particular time and what opportunities for you to take advantage of, okay? Now we start off on the 1st of July with Mars is in the 2nd house of your horoscope, Gemini. With Mars in the 2nd house of your horoscope, until I tell you that it makes a change, it means that you've got a lot of stresses and tensions in your life to do with money matters. Money matters relating to your sense of security, financial matters generally, but also emotional and mental security and physical security. Your security is threatened by those stresses and tensions to do with money matters during this particular period, okay? Now then Mars moves into the 3rd house of your horoscope on the 9th of August. When Mars moves into the 3rd house of your horoscope and remains there for the balance of August, it means that you've got a lot of tension and stresses there in your life connected with your mind and your methods of communication, so that there can be a lot of stresses and tensions to do with contracts and agreements that you've entered into or you have to enter into. There's accidents on the road potentially. Lung and bronchial trouble can come through these stresses that are there, and you can be rather impulsive in speech with Mars in the 3rd house of your horoscope. There can be accidents on the road and stresses and tensions focusing through relatives and neighbours, all connected with the 3rd house of the horoscope. Now let's look at Saturn. Saturn is retrograde to start the month off with. Now when a planet is retrograde, it impacts negatively, not necessarily upon the house that it's sitting in, Gemini, but it impacts negatively upon the house that it rules. And Saturn, in your case, rules the 8th house and the 9th house. It rules different houses for other signs. But for you, it's the 8th and the 9th house. Now the 8th house is the house of joint finances, so there's going to be a lot of secret worries and frustrations and hurdles and obstacles that you set up for yourself to do with joint finances, that you're going to have to jump those hurdles during this period. And there's a lot of frustrations in making changes inside of yourself, Gemini, with Saturn retrograde impacting negatively upon the 8th house of your horoscope. The 9th house of your horoscope is the house to do with foreign travel, so there's frustrations, obstructions, delays there. Also it's to do with legal matters, so matters relating to the legal side of life is going to bring obstacles, hurdles, frustrations and difficulties, hurdles for you to jump. And there's problems with in-laws and problems with regard to expansion of your consciousness through study, research and investigation. You'll put up all sorts of hurdles during this 2-month period to do with that. Now then, though, it makes a change. Saturn goes direct on the 4th of August, Gemini, okay? Now on the 4th of August, when Saturn goes direct, it remains direct then for the balance of this period, July and August. And so from the 4th of August onwards to the end of August, Saturn is direct. Now that's going to impact then upon the 6th house of your horoscope, which is the house that it's sitting in. That's going to have a threat upon you to do with your health. It's going to bring frustrations connected with work and employment, and it's going to bring frustrations for you generally to do with domestic pets, and there can be illness of a domestic pet, frustrations with people that you work with, and it's not a good time for making any changes in your job or anything like that. But guard your health, because your health will be threatened when Saturn is in the 6th house of your horoscope for the balance of this period, okay? Now we move to the Sun. The Sun starts off on the 1st of July, Gemini, in the second house of your horoscope. Now, with the Sun in the second house of your horoscope, there's a focus of your personality upon financial matters and matters relating to your sense of security generally. Now, Venus starts off in the third house of your horoscope on the 1st of July and remains there until I tell you that it makes a change. With Venus in the third house of your horoscope, there's a lot of extra social involvements there with relatives and neighbours, and there's a lot of happiness for you through driving and motor vehicles and things like that. Now then, the first change that we have, Gemini, is on the 19th of July. On the 19th of July, Venus moves into the fourth house of your horoscope. The fourth house is the home and the family and the domestic side of life. It brings a lot of social activities into the home connected with family, a great deal of love and affection there to do with family, and it's a beautiful cycle for you to do with home entertainments and amusements and things like that. Then on the 24th of July, the Sun moves into the third house of your horoscope, Gemini, and remains there for 30 days. With the Sun in the third house of your horoscope, there's a focus of your personality upon developing and expanding your mind. Also, matters relating to contracts and agreements come to the fore, and dealings with relatives and neighbours on a social level also comes to the fore, okay? Now then, on the 27th of July, Venus starts going retrograde. Now when Venus goes retrograde, Venus doesn't impact negatively, but it makes you overdo it to do with the houses that it's impacting, because it rules your 5th house and your 12th house of your horoscope. Now, with the 5th house being impacted with a retrograde Venus, it means that you can overdo it on the social side of life. You can overdo it with the with luxuries and things like that, and you can overdo it too on the sexual side of life. You also are impacting upon the 12th house of your horoscope, so you can have some sense of being your own worst enemy as far as overdoing it on the social side of life. You can get involved in a secret relationship or have secret worries about relationships and things like that with the 12th house impact there. And you might be wanting to have solitude, but you just can't attain that solitude with it retrograde there, okay? Now I want to look at Jupiter for you. Jupiter is a major beneficial influence in our lives, Gemini, and Jupiter starts off the 1st of the July in the 3rd house of your horoscope. That brings expansion of your consciousness, expansion of your mind. It's a beautiful impact there upon all dealings with relatives, neighbours, contracts and agreements and so forth. Then on the 12th of August, Jupiter moves into the 4th house of your horoscope and remains there for the balance of this period. And with Jupiter in the 4th house of your horoscope, things come to conclusions favourably in your life. It's very good for you to do with domestic and family matters, property matters, changes in residence, things like that. All matters relating to property are favoured, and it's a happy time for you socially to do with relatives. A parent could travel to visit you, or you could travel with a parent if they're alive. That gives you an idea of the impacts that you've got in your life during this particular period, Gemini. Now, where do you go from here, Gemini? Just to wrap things up, I'm here to help you become more of who you really are, okay? To help you expand your understanding about the nature of reality and your place in that reality. Consciousness is the main mover, okay? It's consciousness that's creating reality and not the other way around. They've proven that with quantum physics, but Einstein didn't want to accept this quantum jumping thing, he called it, created by consciousness. Look, there's just so much there to learn, and this is what I'm here to help you to understand, that you can go through my intensives. First of all, have your horoscope number 3 done by me, in which I tell you with my voice all about yourself, all about the quirks and traits and things like that within yourself that only you know about. And I tell you about your past, when you've had all these changes and things like that in the past. And then I go into the future for you and tell you what's coming up in the future. You can overcome obstacles and hurdles free yourself from all sorts of dangers that are there by having your personal horoscope done by me. It's about 25 minutes on a recorded message with beautiful backing music, and I tell you all about yourself so that you understand who you are and where you're going and what you've developed, what qualities, principles and values that you've developed in previous lifetimes, and what tests and hurdles that you've set up for yourself in this lifetime, and where your career is going and where your love life is going and where your finances are going and where your health is going. Look, for the sake of having a personal horoscope done, you can save yourself a lot of money on health costs alone, and you can make sure that you make the right decisions and choices about your future in business and career and finances and travel and health and relationships and all sorts of things. Once you get your horoscope number 3 done by me, you also get thrown in free of charge horoscope number 1, which looks at your progress moon and progress planetary cycles over the next 30 months, all in printed format for you to be able to read, and it's a fabulous reading, that one. And also horoscope number 2, you get that thrown in free of charge as well with the horoscope number 3. And the horoscope number 2 is a beautiful 20-page printout all about you and what qualities, principles and values that you've developed in past lives, and what qualities, principles and values that you are in the process of developing in this particular lifetime. So I urge you to get your horoscope number 3 if you can afford it. Get that done by me and go on with the job through my intensives too. There's 12 CDs there available to download from my website. Start listening to them because I've put it all into a structured form to expand your consciousness and take you into spiritual university, Gemini. So it's nice to have this opportunity to be able to talk with you. The website address is always in the description of my videos. Okay, so you can find that there. Go to my website, see what's on offer. If you can afford horoscope number 3, get that done, and you'll get the other 2 thrown in free of charge. And let's work together as a team to help you to become all that you can be, Gemini, and more. So I thank you for your attentiveness here. Subscribe to my videos because I'm pumping out new videos all the time. And let's work together to help you become everything that you can possibly be. Thank you.